They had the fame, the money, and what looked like perfect love. But behind the Instagram smiles and sweet interviews, something darker was always hiding. Because in the world of Filipino showbiz, nothing spreads faster than whispers of betrayal. From sudden, soft launches of new partners to cryptic Instagram unfollows, fans have become detectives, tracking every like, every caption, every glance for clues. And when the truth finally breaks, it's never gentle. It's explosive. Some stars admit their mistakes. Others swear they're innocent. But the public doesn't wait for proof. Because in this world, perception is reality. In this video, we're diving deep into the most talked about celebrity breakups in the Philippines. Stories of love, loyalty, and lies that shattered fan bases and exposed the cost of fame. But before we continue, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our future uploads. Stories that reveal the truth behind fame, love, and everything in between. Because what's coming next might just change how you see your favorite stars forever. Now, let's start with one of the most talked about splits in recent memory. A breakup that taught everyone that admitting the truth too late can hurt even more than lying. After years together, Paolo Contis and LJ Reyes were seen as one of showbiz's most grounded couples. They had that rare, quiet type of relationship. No constant publicity, no attention-seeking drama. But that calm didn't last forever. When LJ suddenly unfollowed Paulo and wiped photos from her Instagram, fans immediately sensed something was off. It didn't take long before rumors started swirling. Whispers of a third party, a sudden distance, and that all too familiar phrase, irreconcilable differences. Then came Paulo's admission. He finally confirmed what everyone had been speculating. Yes, he had been unfaithful. But by the time he spoke, LJ was already in New York, rebuilding her life with her kids. The confession didn't come across as noble. For many, it felt too late. Viewers saw the remorse, but they also saw a man trying to fix an image that had already shattered.
Loko ka. Ganun.
Ano?
Hindi, wala. Takot ako sa kanya.
What made this breakup unforgettable wasn't just the cheating. It was the honesty that arrived after the damage was done. The public watched in real time as LJ's quiet strength contrasted Paulo's regret, and the internet made its choice about who to believe. Paulo's story became a reminder that in showbiz, timing is everything. You can own up to your mistakes, but if the world feels you're confessing for reputation, not redemption, it's game over. But if you thought that was intense, wait until you hear about a love triangle that practically broke the internet, turning private heartbreak into one of the most viral controversies the country has ever seen. If Paulo and LJ's story showed what happens when honesty comes too late, this next one showed what happens when no honesty comes at all. Gerald Anderson and Bea Alonzo were once one of showbiz's favorite pairs. Private but passionate, mature but relatable. Then, suddenly, silence. No breakup announcement, no closure. Just a flood of cryptic posts from Bea, with one line that shook social media. You can't make the same mistake twice. The internet went wild. Fans began piecing together clues. Gerald's new closeness with Julia Barretto on set, photos surfacing online, timelines being compared down to the day. Bea eventually confirmed that she and Gerald were no longer together, saying they didn't really have a formal breakup because he just stopped talking to her. That one line, he just stopped talking, became the spark that turned a breakup into a national debate. Was it ghosting, cheating, or something in between?
We did not break up.
Gerald, on his part, denied the rumors, saying that things ended cleanly and Julia had nothing to do with it. Julia herself faced brutal online hate, accused of being the other woman, though she repeatedly denied it. Still, in the eyes of many fans, the damage was already done. What made this story so explosive wasn't just the love triangle. It was the mystery. No solid proof, no public fight, just silence filled by speculation. And when the truth feels hidden, the internet fills in the blanks with its own version of events. The Gerald B. Julia saga became a turning point. Proof that sometimes saying nothing can make you look guiltier than anything you could ever admit. But while this triangle burned bridges, our next story shows what happens when accusations go both ways, and both sides claim to be the betrayed one. If Gerald and Bea's story was built on silence and mystery, this next one was the complete opposite. Loud, messy, and filled with public accusations from both sides. Kylie Padilla and Aljur Abrenica's breakup wasn't just a split. It was a digital battlefield. Once a couple adored for their chemistry and fairy tale wedding, their relationship took a sharp turn when rumors of infidelity started spreading online. At first, both stayed quiet, but silence doesn't last long in showbiz. When Kylie confirmed that she and Aljur had separated, fans immediately began speculating about who had cheated. Aljur later posted an explosive message online, claiming he was not the unfaithful one, and that people should ask Kylie who broke their vows first. That single post reignited the fire, sending fans into chaos, each side choosing who to defend. Kylie responded with calm but firm words. She didn't deny everything, but she reminded the public that not everything has to be said. What matters, she hinted, is peace. And just like that, what was once a love story became an emotional war zone, with each side's silence saying more than their statements ever could. What made their breakup so captivating wasn't just the he said, she said dynamic, but how real it felt. These weren't polished press statements. They were raw emotions spilling onto social media. And in an age where fans think they deserve full access to a celebrity's private life, every cryptic post felt like a clue to a mystery they needed to solve. By the end, both Kylie and Aljur had moved on, but the internet never truly let their story rest. It became a lesson that in the age of receipts and screenshots, love doesn't just end, it gets archived. But while their feud unfolded online, our next story takes us behind closed doors, to a couple whose silence spoke louder than any accusation ever could. After all the shouting matches and social media call-outs we've seen in other celebrity splits, this next story proved that sometimes the quietest breakups hurt the most. Tom Rodriguez and Carla Abellana were once seen as one of the most solid pairs in showbiz. Partners who built their love story slowly, away from constant publicity. When they finally tied the knot, fans thought they'd found the blueprint for lasting romance in an industry known for short-lived love. But barely a year later, that perfect image began to crack. Rumors started circulating about lies, disrespect, and something that changed between them after marriage. Neither Tom nor Carla directly addressed the accusations at first, but when the silence broke, it came in the form of a few powerful words. Carla described the relationship's downfall as being caused by disrespect, lying, and no change. No direct names, no explanations, just truth wrapped in pain.
Too much already po.
Okay, that's how far you will go.
Tom eventually revealed that the marriage had officially ended. And while he didn't confirm or deny the rumors of cheating, he admitted to failing in many ways as a husband. The heartbreak wasn't played out in drama-filled interviews. It was told through the absence of words, the deleted photos, and the quiet unfollowing of each other online. Fans were left to interpret what happened, and that's what made this breakup so haunting. There were no villains, no third-party confessions, just two people whose silence said everything that needed to be said. The Tom and Carla story became a reminder that not every heartbreak has to be loud to be devastating. Sometimes, it's the calm after the storm that hurts the most, because that's when you realize it's truly over. But while this breakup ended in silence, the next one proved that denial can make the noise even louder. If Tom and Carla's silence spoke volumes, Ricci Rivero and Andrea Brillantes' story showed what happens when speaking up only adds more fuel to the flames. Their relationship started like a fairy tale, a viral courtship that unfolded live for millions to see, with Ricci publicly asking Andrea to be his girlfriend right after a big basketball game. It was bold, romantic, and instantly unforgettable. But as the saying goes, what burns bright burns fast. Months later, fans noticed the familiar signs: deleted photos, subtle tweets, and the sudden absence of sweet posts. Then came the storm. Rumors exploded online that Ricci had moved on with beauty queen Lorraine Bautista while still in a relationship with Andrea. Screenshots and receipts began circulating, though none were verified. Ricci immediately denied everything, insisting there was no overlap between the two women, and Laren backed him up. But for many fans, the timing just didn't sit right. When public denial meets public suspicion, even truth starts to sound rehearsed. Andrea, meanwhile, handled the issue with quiet grace, only sharing a few cryptic posts that spoke volumes without mentioning names. It was the silence after the storm that made people realize how much damage had already been done. The Ricci-Andrea breakup wasn't just about love. It became a lesson in how fast social media can turn speculation into evidence. Because once the internet decides there's a third party, there's almost no convincing it otherwise. By the time both had moved on, the public had already written their version of the story, and no statement could ever rewrite it. But if this breakup was about denial, the next one showed what true strength looks like. When a woman faces betrayal head-on and turns heartbreak into something powerful. After watching love stories collapse under the weight of rumors, lies, and social media chaos, it's refreshing and heartbreaking to remember someone who faced betrayal with nothing but honesty. Candy Pangilinan's story didn't unfold through cryptic tweets or public denials. There were no viral exposés or third-party receipts. What she went through happened long before social media could turn heartbreak into entertainment. Yet her story remains one of the most powerful examples of strength after betrayal. Years ago, Candy opened up about how her former partner, Gilbert Alvarado, had been unfaithful. It wasn't a publicity stunt, and she didn't name drop for shock value. She told her story simply, because it was part of her truth. What made her different was how she handled it, with grace, humor, and humility. Instead of tearing someone down, she built herself back up. Candy admitted the pain, but she didn't let it define her. She spoke openly about how she picked up the pieces, focused on her son, and rebuilt her life on her own terms. That kind of quiet courage struck a chord with people, especially women who'd been through the same thing but never had the platform to speak. Her breakup wasn't a scandal. It was a story of survival. And in an industry obsessed with image, Candy reminded everyone that dignity can outshine drama. Compared to today's messy, viral controversies, her journey might seem calm. But make no mistake, her strength was revolutionary. Because while others were busy clearing their names, Candy focused on something more powerful: clearing her peace. And if you thought that kind of authenticity was rare, wait until you see what happens when a high-profile breakup doesn't just trend, it divides an entire nation. If Candy Pangilinan's breakup showed quiet resilience, Skusta Clee and Zeinab Harake's story was the complete opposite. Loud, heartbreaking, and impossible to ignore. Their relationship was modern love in the spotlight. Vlogs, public gestures, and a fan base that treated them like the gold standard of #couple goals. They weren't just partners, they were a brand. But behind the curated smiles and matching posts, something fragile was brewing. When Zeinab finally spoke up in a tell-all interview, everything changed. She revealed that she had been betrayed, confirming what many fans had suspected for months. Her voice cracked as she recalled the pain, and that raw emotion hit people harder than any proof could have. The story instantly dominated headlines and social feeds. Skusta Clee, for his part, didn't deny everything. But his responses were vague, almost detached, which only fueled the fire. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Was he misunderstood? Or was he simply caught? The internet became divided, fans turning into online detectives, revisiting old lyrics and videos, searching for hidden meanings. What made this breakup so explosive was how personal it felt. Their followers had watched them fall in love, start a family, and share their most intimate moments. So when it all collapsed, it didn't feel like just their breakup. It felt like everyone's. Zeinab's honesty earned her massive sympathy, while Skusta's image took a hit that still lingers today. Their story became the modern definition of a public betrayal, proof that in the age of content and confession, heartbreak doesn't stay private. But if this one showed how betrayal can destroy trust, our next story reveals how a rumor, even without proof, can live on for years, haunting everyone involved. After the heartbreak of Skusta Clee and Zeinab Harake, it's hard to imagine another story that could divide fans as deeply. But this next one did. Not because of confirmed betrayal, but because of something even more powerful, a rumor that refused to die. James Reid and Nadine Lustre, known together as Jadine, weren't just a love team. They were a cultural phenomenon. From hit movies to music collaborations, their chemistry was electric, and fans truly believed they'd last forever. So when they announced their breakup in 2020, the internet didn't take it well. But what came after made it even worse. Almost instantly, whispers started spreading that Isa Pressman, a close friend of both James and Nadine, was the real reason for their split. A single photo, James and Isa at the same event, became proof. Online detectives built timelines, screenshots resurfaced, and before long, Isa was being painted as the villain in a story no one had verified. Both James and Nadine repeatedly denied that Isa had anything to do with their breakup. Years later, in 2024, James addressed it again, saying he regretted how the public treated Isa and that the rumors were never true. But by then, the damage had already been done. What made this story so gripping wasn't evidence. It was imagination. Fans filled in the blanks, connecting dots that may have never existed. And once the internet writes your story, it's nearly impossible to rewrite it. The Jadine saga proved that in the world of fame, you don't need betrayal to ruin a reputation, just the idea of one. But while this breakup was all about perception, our next story features something far more concrete. A confession that left fans speechless and a love song that suddenly hit too close to home. After the whirlwind of rumors that surrounded James, Nadine, and Isa, the next story hit differently. Because this time there was no speculation, no guessing, no maybe. This time, the truth came straight from the source. When Jason Hernandez publicly admitted to being unfaithful to his wife, singer-songwriter Moira de la Torre, the internet froze. This wasn't just another celebrity couple. They were the face of modern Filipino love. Their songs told stories of faith, forgiveness, and forever. They weren't just partners in life. They were partners in music. That's what made the confession so painful and unforgettable. Jason's video statement was short but devastating. He looked straight into the camera and said he had been unfaithful, taking full responsibility for the pain he caused. In a world full of denials and vague answers, that kind of honesty was rare. But it also shattered fans' hearts in an instant. Moira didn't lash out or play the blame game. Instead, she stayed silent for weeks before finally speaking. Not through an interview, but through her music. Her songs after the breakup carried pain so raw that listeners could feel every unspoken word. And when she finally did address it publicly, she made one thing clear. She had been loyal, and the rumors claiming otherwise were lies. Their breakup wasn't about mystery or speculation. It was about watching something beautiful collapse in real time. The fans didn't have to search for clues. The truth was right there, written in their faces, their lyrics, and their silence. The Jason and Moira story reminded everyone that sometimes the most heartbreaking scandals aren't about rumors, they're about reality. And while this confession shook OPM to its core, our next story takes betrayal to a different arena. One where love, fame, and sports collided in a way no one saw coming. If Jason and Moira's story broke hearts through a song, this next one broke the internet through silence. And one shocking wedding announcement, Scottie Thompson wasn't just a basketball star, he was a household name. The type of athlete fans rooted for both on and off the court. For years, his relationship with longtime girlfriend Pau Fajardo was a symbol of loyalty and patience. After all, they'd been together for nearly a decade, and when Scottie finally proposed, the country collectively cheered. But just a few months later, that fairy tale engagement took a turn no one could have predicted. Without warning, news broke that Scottie had quietly married someone else, Jinky Serrano, a woman fans barely knew. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Social media exploded with disbelief, heartbreak, and betrayal. How could a man propose to one woman and marry another so soon after? Pau, in the midst of the chaos, handled everything with incredible composure. She released a short but powerful statement, calm, respectful, and heartbreakingly dignified. She didn't throw accusations or play the victim. She simply said her piece, wished Scottie well, and stepped away from the spotlight. Meanwhile, Scottie faced a storm of backlash. For months, every game, every interview, every post was shadowed by the question, what really happened? Though both sides eventually moved on, the silence around the timeline kept the intrigue alive. This breakup wasn't messy because of drama. It was messy because of mystery. Fans didn't just want answers. They wanted closure. And sometimes the lack of it makes a story linger forever. But if this betrayal shocked the nation, our next one took things even further. Beyond heartbreak, beyond denial, and straight into the courtroom. If the Scottie Thompson and Pau Fajardo story left everyone stunned in silence, this next one reminded the world that not every breakup ends with a simple goodbye. Some end with lawyers, accusations, and headlines that refuse to fade. Maggie Wilson and Victor Kansunji were once the picture of sophistication, a power couple who seemed to have it all: beauty, success, and stability. Their love story was the kind you'd see in magazines, the kind that made people believe in partnership beyond fame. But as the years passed, the cracks began to show. When they announced their separation, it seemed civil, at first. But soon after, things spiraled into one of the most publicized and complex celebrity breakups in recent memory. There were allegations of infidelity, counterclaims, and even legal actions that dragged their private battles into the spotlight. Both sides accused the other of wrongdoing, and social media turned into their battleground. At one point, Maggie claimed she was being harassed and intimidated, sharing posts that painted a troubling picture of what was happening behind the scenes. Victor, on the other hand, was soon seen with entrepreneur Rachel Carrasco, with whom he later welcomed a child, a development that fueled even more speculation about timelines and overlap. What made this case so gripping wasn't just the drama. It was the evolution. What started as a love story had turned into a full-blown PR war, complete with public statements, legal notices, and online receipts. It was no longer just about heartbreak. It was about control, power, and image. And after all these stories, from confessions to denials, from proposals to lawsuits, one thing becomes clear. The patterns never really change. They just find new names, new faces, and new ways to repeat themselves. After all these stories, one thing becomes clear. The names change, but the pattern never does. It always starts the same. A picture-perfect couple, sweet captions, fans cheering them on. Then comes the unfollow, the deleted photos, the vague post that says everything without saying a word. Cheating, denial, forgiveness, repeat. But maybe the real reason these scandals never end isn't just because people keep making mistakes. It's because we keep watching. Every rumor becomes a headline, every silence becomes proof, and heartbreak turns into public entertainment. These love stories remind us that fame doesn't protect anyone from pain. It just puts it on display. Because in the end, whether it's in secret messages or viral confessions, every breakup in showbiz teaches the same lesson. Love under a spotlight burns twice as bright and dies twice as fast. When you look back at all these stories, from confessions to denials, from heartbreak to healing, you realize something deeper. The real betrayal isn't always about who cheated first or who stayed silent longer. Sometimes it's about how easily love gets consumed by fame, how quickly private pain becomes public property. Because in the world of showbiz, every smile can hide a story, every silence can mean heartbreak, and every breakup becomes everyone's business. Fame magnifies everything. Love, lies, and loss, until even the truth gets blurry. But maybe that's what keeps us watching. These stories mirror our own, just louder, messier, and impossible to look away from. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our future uploads. And comment below. Tell us which breakup shocked you the most, and what you think really happened. Your thoughts help us create even more stories like this one. Because in love and fame, one thing's for sure. There's always more to the story.